Hello. In this first episode of the Cell Introduction, I'm starting a lecture series about the cell. Now, I want to give you some basic information, and in the next episodes, I'll discuss the cell and its organelles in detail. Today, I'll tell you about Robert Hooke's discovery, the cell. Then we will talk about cell theory and its consequences, the sizes and shapes of cells, and finally, you will learn about the differences and similarities between the two main types of cell, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. In 1665, English scientist Robert Hooke looked through his handcrafted microscope at a scrap of oak cork. He made a drawing. These small boxes are what he saw. He called them cells because they reminded him of the cells of monastery. In fact, what Hooke saw were only the cellulose and suberin cell walls of the cork tissue. Anyway, the term cell was coined. Today, Robert Hooke is seen as a father of cytology, or in other words, cell biology. The origin of this word is Greek. Kytos means cell and logos means study. However, while Hooke was watching the cells, he didn't realize that he himself was composed of cells. The cell theory, in its original shape, was formulated in 1838 and 1839 by Theodor Schwann and Matthias Jakob Schleiden. They suggested that cells were the basic unit of life. What does this mean? It means that all living organisms are composed of one or more cells, whether animal, plant, protist, fungus or bacteria. Living organisms can be composed of one, like bacteria, or more cells. Remember, the cell is the most basic unit of life and all organisms are composed of cells. But this theory had a weak point. Schleiden assumed that cells are formed by a spontaneous crystallization that he called free cell formation. Today, we know Schleiden was wrong. His assumption was refuted in the next step in the development of cell biology by Polish-German scientist Robert Remak in 1852. This is a drawing made by Remak. He assumed that cells come from pre-existing cells by a process of division. Today, this is absolutely clear and one of the foundations of modern cell theory. However, this discovery and the phrase omnis cellulae cellula, means every cell originates from another existing cell, is attributed to Rudolf Virchow, who simply published Remak's work as his own. He just plagiarized Remak. Look at the dates. If we think about the theory that all cells multiply through division, we can straight away say that all cells living now, in all organisms, bacteria, plants, animals, come from cell living in ancient times. Even more amazingly, they all ultimately came from just one ancient cell. All cells have one common ancestor. This is the one point where everything began. So, cell theory is based on three basic foundations. All living organisms are composed of one or more cells. The cell is the most basic unit of life. All cells arise from pre-existing living cells. So there is no doubt that the cell holds a special place in biology and needs a special discussion. And now let's try to focus a little bit on the cell's world, sizes and shapes. The average size of a cell is about 10 micrometers. But I know average is boring. The most interesting cases are extreme, of course, so I prepared a few samples for you. The smallest known cell is the bacteria Mycoplasma, which varies in size between 0.1 to 0.15 micrometer. Imagine 1 millimeter divided into 10,000 parts. One of the biggest cells is the ostrich egg, at about 15 centimeters. The nerve cell of a giraffe's neck can reach 3 meters in length. There are also very varied shapes. These are human blood cells, a red blood cell, erythrocyte, a concave, biconcave disc, the platelet, thrombocyte, and a white blood cell, leukocyte. This is an interesting algae of the Acetabularia genus. It consists of only one cell. Under this umbrella is a long stalk of up to 10 cm in height. Because it's only one cell, this is a good object for scientists to study in cell biology. This algae will appear in the next lectures. This red cylinder is the myocyte, also known as a muscle cell. This one comes from striated muscle tissue. Its characteristic feature is the ability to shrink. And this one is a cell in a plant's parenchyma. These cells that I'm showing you are only a small sample of the great multiplicity of cells that exist in the world. Anyway, despite their huge diversity of shapes, sizes and functions, cells have some common characteristic features. Okay, let's make some order and classify the cells. They can be divided into two main groups. First, cells without a nucleus are called prokaryotic cells. In straight translation from Greek, pro means before, karyon means nut or kernel. Why before? Because this kind of cells appeared first during evolution before cells with nuclei. Prokaryotes include two domains, bacteria and archaea. The second kind of organisms, cells, are eukaryotes. From Greek, of course, eu means well and karyon means nut or kernel. Eukaryotic cells contain nuclei and include such organisms as animals, plants, fungi, protozoa. Once more, on the left are prokaryote, bacteria. On the right are eukaryote, animals, fungi, plants, green algae, and unicellular protozoa such as Eisterichia. You'll have noticed that the most complex organisms are composed of eukaryotic cells. Indeed, only eukaryotic cells are able to build such complex systems. Thus, eukaryotic cells are themselves most the complex cell types. Let's look at these two different but equally amazing projects of nature, these two evolutionary paths of life. The first focuses on simplicity, the second on complexity. Prokaryote is like one-room manufacture. All operations occur in one place, cytosol. In the same place there is a database, DNA, energy is made, proteins are produced, DNA replicates, and all metabolic and biochemical processes take place. Eukaryotic cells are like big modern factories, with special sections surrounded by a plasma membrane. Biologists call these sections compartments. For example, a nucleus with a huge database, a huge amount of DNA. Cytoplasmic reticulum responsible for protein production, for lipid production, for detoxification. Golgi apparatus responsible for modification of proteins, packaging and exporting many products outside the cell. Mitochondria, energy centers. Lysosomes responsible for intracellular digestion. And so on and so on. All these parts we call organelles. But you already know that cells differ from each other. Animal, plant and fungi cells are different. Moreover, cells within one organism are different as well, so the internal structure has evolved to be able to perform particular functions. Which way is right? Which way of evolution is better? Prokaryote or eukaryote? Which project? As a biologist, I have to say both. But as a human, I can be not objective. If you want to learn more, much more, I invite you to watch the next episode, Plasma Membrane. Please subscribe to Biology Channel, visit my website biologychannel.tv or find me on Facebook. Thank you very much.